Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth GSEF webinar cycle. This webinar is going to be on the theme of the evolving ecosystem of social solidarity economy in the post-COVID-19 era. This is the last in our series of webinars started since last May and conducted in French, English and Spanish throughout the year as the preparation for the GSEF Forum 2021 in Mexico in collaboration with our local organizing committee of the Mexico Forum. I'm Laurence Kwak, General Secretary of the Global Social Economy Forum. I will be the moderator for today. The theme, the evolving ecosystem of social solidarity economy in the post-COVID-19 era, is the topic that drives all of our thinking today, because we know that the world today will be shaped by the choices we make now and their consequences. As you all know, that it just took 3 months for the first COVID-19 virus reported in Wuhan, China in December 2019 to spread around the world. And 9 months later, in the midst of unprecedented turmoil that we are at the moment, this pandemic has caused severe health and medical crisis all over the world, which has turned at the same time to the most serious political, economic and social crisis. It is natural that the word new normal has spread to our life, and that curiosity and desire for a new order to come after COVID-19 has grown. Unlike yesterday, all citizens are now wondering what is causing this crisis, what options are available to humanity, and what major changes they will bring afterward. With huge waves of change approaching an unprecedented social experiment underway, where will the compass of civilization point after COVID-19? Efforts to find answers to the new order amid the enormous confusion caused by the pandemic are no exception to social solidarity economy. We are also looking for new answers and new voices to better respond to the social and economic needs of social solidarity economic enterprise and organizations affected by the COVID-19 crisis. How to promote social innovation for social solidarity economy organizations and enterprise and for local authorities. How has COVID-19 changed the landscape and ecosystem of the social solidarity economy in your city? What is the strategy for the social solidarity economy to be more successful in coming out of this crisis and recovering after the crisis? How have your members adjusted to stay resilient and provide services product during the COVID-19 crisis? These are some of the questions that we are going to deal with our 6 experts invited from various organizations who act at local, national, regional, and international level to better support social solidarity economy actors in the face of the new challenges and experience that social solidarity economy is facing and the consequence of the pandemic of COVID-19. You will hear through them about what is the evolving ecosystem of social solidarity economy in the post-COVID-19 era. Before that, I invite our first speaker. I would like to remind that today we have 6 speakers, so we will have 6 presentations, one after the other, and then at the end we will have Q&A section altogether for 6 presentations. All of the participants, please mute your video and speaker to avoid any background noise during the section. And if you would like to get engaged with others, as well as to raise questions to the speakers, please use the chat box you will find at the bottom of the screen. And the PowerPoint presentation of the speakers will be available in GSEF website later at www.gsef-net.org. So don't worry about that. And today we also have a simultaneous interpretation between English and Korean. So if speaker is presenting in English, you can choose off button to listen to the original presentation in English. If the speaker is speaking in Korean, you can choose English in the channel interpretation channel which is in the form of globe, and you will have English translation coming through. So please mute the original audio and let's start. So now I would like to invite our very first speaker, Dr. Carlos Jarco, Director General of Espriu Foundation from Spain. Dr. Carlos Jarco is a member of the board and Director General of the Foundation Espriu, and he is the President of the International Health Cooperative Organization and member of the board of the Alliance for Health Promotion. The Espriu Foundation is a private non-profit entity which aims to promote research and disseminate cooperative healthcare management using its organizational and self-management formula based on trust and closeness between doctors and patients. Dr. Carlos Jarco, you have the floor.
Oh, thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to explain you the role of the Espriu Foundation in this pandemic time. Spain has been hard hit by the COVID-19 pandemic. The first registered patient was known on January the 31. A state of emergency and lockdown was imposed on March the 14th. And at the peak of the infection, there were more than 900 dead daily. The ICUs were overwhelmed and some hospitals were on the verge of collapse. In late May and June, the situation got somewhat better and the daily number of infected people reduced. Unfortunately, since mid-July, figures are growing again. So far, there have been more than 705,000 confirmed cases. Some 147,000 have been admitted in hospitals. More than 30,000 have been needed intensive care units, and regretfully, more than 31,000 patients have died. We do not forget that beyond those figures, they are people. So they represent a lot of suffering. We at Espriu keep working hard every day to care for our community and our members. As you can see on the slide, I want to share you a little bit about a few details of my organization. The Espriu Foundation is a network of health hubs, hospitals, medical centers, insurance companies, diagnostic units, technology companies, etc., currently caring for 2.6 million people in Spain. Past year, we registered 30 million consultations, 419,000 surgeries, 540,000 emergency services, and the whole group brought together more than 180,000 cooperators, directly employed 6,182 people, and achieved a turnover of 1.6 billion euros. Espriu offers complete health services to our customers and members in 16 hospitals, 32 multi-specialty medical centers, and in partnership with more than 45,000 health professionals. Over more than 60 years, Espriu COPs have developed a non-profit health model based on the reinvestment of any surplus in knowledge, technology, and infrastructure to improve the healthcare quality. We have consolidated a strong public-private partnership with the national health system and developed a governance model for multi-stakeholders COPs, where doctors and patients share the decision-making process. In the next slide, you will see how the unprecedented health emergency we face over the past months has compelled Espriu's cooperatives to completely reorganize our healthcare services to be able to treat more than 12,000 COVID-19 patients. Once again, the cooperative model demonstrated its resilience thanks to the professionalism and commitment of the healthcare workers and all cooperative members and employees. We were able to handle the situation. All the actions developed by Espriu have been implemented following the guidelines issued by the World Health Organization and the Spanish health authorities. Since the beginning, we have been cooperating at all levels with the public health system. Thousands of COVID-19 patients have been admitted in the cooperative hospitals, where at the early stages of the pandemic, they had the priority because all non-urgent interventions were postponed. Medical consultations became virtual as we launched a new system of telemedicine and remotely delivered healthcare. Hospitals restructured our facilities and protocols, increasing our capacity in place, creating new intensive care units with a several-fold increase in some cases and resigning professionals and tasks. Regarding employment, SPRIU COPs proved resilient and chose not to make any workforce reductions and facilitate to non-healthcare staff switching to remote working, as ensuring their health and safety become a priority. Currently, more than 70% of non-healthcare workers can work from home, and at the hardest days of the pandemic, they were up to 90%. In the healthcare area, additional medical and nursing staff have been taken on to meet the increasing demand. Health professionals of hospitals where the situation was not too hard went to help other centers overwhelmed by increasing admission of COVID-19 patients, sometimes in cities long way from their home. Even some retired doctors came back to lend a helping hand. It's known that people are the worthiest asset of social economy enterprises. At SPRIU cooperatives, they were the main driving force behind the fight against COVID-19. We never will appreciate their unconditional commitment and professionalism enough. Paradoxically, many medical doctors had seen their practice close several weeks because of the lockdown. They have been unable to generate income to pay workers and bills. SPRIU's cooperative launched an aid program aimed to help doctors to handle these financial issues. The concern for the community is one of the central values of SPRIU. In that sense, we created a specific free telephone advice service addressed to all citizens. A team of the organization, healthcare professionals, most of them voluntarily, provide guidance and clear queries about coronavirus. To help people to cope with lockdowns, we launched the website ahora más que nunca tranquilidad.es, meaning keep calm now more than ever. It compiles helpful content concerning exercise, nutrition, mental health, sleep, and working from home, backed up by the health professionals. Cooperatives also set up flexibility plans allowing clients and users affected by unemployment or income cuts as a result of economic effects of COVID-19 to postpone the monthly payments. Doctors, nurses, and all health workers were in the front line in the hardest situations. They were working many hours under psychological strain to combat the coronavirus. Unfortunately, some of them have been affected by the disease. The cooperative also launched a psychological support program for health professionals to provide them with the tools to manage the emotional stress generated by the emergency and protect their mental strength. SPRIU COPs also joined forces with other Spanish firms to protect healthcare workers combating the coronavirus by contributing to the Solidarity Fund set up by the insurance sector to cover them and their families. Which will be the contribution of health COPs in the post-COVID-19 era? Well, a key takeaway from the pandemic is that professionals are the worthiest assets of the healthcare sector. As the so-called second wave approaches and the healthcare demand increases, the lack of well-trained and motivated healthcare workers becomes an evidence. In healthcare management, making good decisions on spending is instrumental. Moreover, as healthcare is a labor-intensive sector, doctors, nurses, and other healthcare workers can make a big difference. Improvements in healthcare provision often can be reached if resources are pooled and health professionals enjoy better working conditions. Since many years, health cooperatives demonstrated their appropriateness to combining workers' skills and financial resources to bridge the gaps in the provision of health services. The growing healthcare demand has also put pressure on the health systems to suddenly increase their capacity with new intensive care wards, ventilators, equipment, and so on. To address this challenge, the joint and coordinated participation of all health resources, whether public or private, is crucial. Cooperatives, rather than competing with the public healthcare or other providers, tend to be complementary. In some countries, they even take the place of the national health system. Many times, cooperatives fill gaps that otherwise have been unattended. The flexibility that characterizes health cooperatives and its vocation of service to the community positions them as the best ally of governments to develop health systems and improve access to health care of citizens. And it's the better way to achieve the SDG number 3. As the pandemic swept across the globe, many companies suffered losses and the weaker could not keep working. However, cooperatives are providing quite resilience to the pandemic economic consequences. The many years of functioning, almost a century in some cases, show that health co-ops are economically viable business and socially responsible as well. They have a long-term view, seeking social, economic, and environmental sustainability, because the only investor they must pay back is their communities. The profit generated every year is often fully reinvested, improving the business capacity to be more efficient, to provide better health services, and to allow better working conditions for health professionals, thus ensuring the cooperative's sustainability. And that's what I want to tell you about what the SPRI Foundation have done and thinks it will be the post-COVID-19 era. Thank you very much for it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Carlos Jarco. I think it's impressive actually to hear your testimony and your experience dealing with such a health crisis affecting all of the country, but specifically in Spain. It's amazing to see the SPRI Foundation as a network of health cooperative actually caring for more than 2.6 million people, but have treated more than 12,000 COVID-19 patients while keeping all the values and principles of social solidarity economic organization. I think it's certainly going to be one of the lesson that we have to think about as the evolving ecosystem of social solidarity economy in the post-COVID-19 era, because as he concluded, health cooperatives are sound businesses with a sustainable long-term perspective. It's a very interesting case. Thank you very much once again for your contribution, Dr. Carlos Jarco. Let me invite now our second speaker, Mrs. Rebecca Choi Young, who is the chairperson of Hong Kong Social Enterprise Summit. Rebecca was a pioneer of the convention and exhibition industry in Hong Kong and China since the early 80s. She successfully founded, branded, and organized over 12 world-renowned international trade fairs and conventions. Since changing her career path over a decade ago, Rebecca has devoted her full effort to promoting social innovation in Hong Kong and Greater China, especially in orchestrating movements with social missions to bring real change. Using social and business innovations to address the challenges posed by the aging population, fostering the development of smart aging cities, and empowering golden ages, means people plus 45 as a new force of social change. Rebecca is founder and chair of Golden Age Foundation, founder and vice chair of Education for Good, and she's also co-founder and convener of Adnovator, chair of Social Enterprise Summit, co-founder of Dream Impact Hong Kong, and co-founder of Bill Lab. Rebecca, floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Lawrence, for the introduction. And I'm happy to report on the situation in Hong Kong. Next slide, please. The pandemic has obviously taken its toll on the economy of Hong Kong, which has slipped into its first recession for a decade. Our GDP dropped 9% in the second quarter of 2020. Unemployment rate hit 6.2%, the highest level in more than 15 years. And coupled with the months of social unrest in 2019, many people suffered from mental problems, depression, and anxiety. In Hong Kong, cooperative is not a popular form of social organizations. We have mainly social enterprises and NGOs. And social enterprises face the same difficulties like other commercial enterprises. Under the influence of the third wave of COVID in July, operations have become more difficult for social enterprises as they must also take into account of their social mission. Here you can see a survey on the conditions of social enterprises from February to August this year. 80% of the respondents reported a drop in their revenue. 30% of social enterprises replied that their revenue dropped by more than 50%, and 10% had no revenue at all. And to cope with the downturn in business, 67% shortened the operating hours. And what is more worrying is that 25% of them have cash problems, and 70% hold very negative views. So despite all these very negative statistics, we witnessed the rise of citizen innovation since January this year. Next slide, please. So Hong Kong is a very small city with 7.5 million population. We have combated the virus rather successfully with high citizen awareness by wearing masks, sanitizing our hands, and keeping strict social distance. We also have excellent medical professionals who have safeguarded the city's medical system. So far, we have over 5,000 confirmed infections and 105 deaths. On the other hand, the pandemic has aroused the entrepreneurial and innovative spirits of citizens as a means of resilience and survival. Civic society responded almost immediately to help those in need. There are many do-it-yourself videos that help citizens how to make their own masks and measures to protect themselves from the virus. Some social groups simply put up production lines and produce face masks when none could be found at the beginning of the year. And volunteers help to purchase food and deliver them to the elderly and reduce the burden of living of the grassroots levels. Such innovation is imperfect, but they satisfy an urgent need which the government could not provide on time. The gist of this innovation is that it is not about profit. It is driven by solidarity, compassion for others, and trust. So the impact of citizen innovation lies not only in the things or services that they create, but rather the change that they inspire in public mindset and behavior. When citizens from all walks of life play their part as solution providers, we could become more resilient against future crises. Next slide, please. So the government has provided some financial assistance to help business, social enterprises, and also NGOs, which are facing liquidity problems. But such relief funding is reactive and limited in their impact. I'd like to highlight another initiative by the civic society, namely the Community Resilience Fund, of which I'm the chair of the advisory board. So this fund sits to provide liquidity support for social enterprises to help them to adapt to the new normal. It was conceptualized in early March when a number of impact investors like to put their resources together to help social enterprises with viable business models. So we decided that it is a zero interest bridging loan payable after a period of 24 months. We also provide in-kind support for these social enterprises like mentorship, training, and upscaling support. And now we have helped 8 social enterprises with this zero interest loan, though the funding size is not big, but it serves as a pilot of a new social finance option. Next, please. And despite their struggle for survival, many social enterprises, oh, sorry, can I have the previous one? Yeah. So many social enterprises and NGOs still carry out their social missions as much as possible, despite their struggle for survival. And we can see that there are a lot of social enterprises that are still operating. I think we should go back to the previous slide. The previous one, please. Yeah, so we could see that these social enterprises, they are handing out lunch boxes to people in need, and then their action is being supported by businessmen and volunteers. So next slide on digital innovation. COVID-19 has accelerated the digital age. and the importance of digital connectivity in our daily life. And it has enabled the continuation of key activities such as remote working, healthcare, and education, and the growth of e-commerce. However, we also see that there are clearly gaps that still exist in digital access. When essential services such as health, education, or simply being able to continue one's professional activity depend on connectivity, the inequalities has become intensified. And there is a bigger divide in adoption when those with coverage may not use the internet due to lack of affordability. Digital literacy is another additional barrier to adoption by certain communities, such as low-income families and the elderly. Next slide, please. And for social enterprise, they have been struggling for a long time, since early this year. So the Social Enterprise Summit, of which I'm chair, has been assisting with and mentoring the business mitigation plans of social enterprises. For example, we work with social enterprises that organize community tours to go online, education or training onto enterprises to transform physical training into online projects. And there are a lot of others that turn to online or e-business. And during this period, more people have paid attention to the problems of the Earth's ecology that has led to the rise of environmentally conscious social enterprises. Next, please. So we talk about digital innovation, and those schools have been suspended for 9 months. Teachers have been using the e-learning mode to support students to study at home. And there are also tech social companies that cooperated with schools to open the communication function for free during the suspension period, allowing parents to quickly receive school information through their apps and promote homeschool collaboration. Having said that, the inequality gap has also been widened. Schools reported a decline of 30% in the performance of students coming from low-income families that are not able to afford computers and internet connections, let alone a more quiet or roomy environment for the children to learn. Next, please. So we are looking at creating a new normal, and we feel that this is not just the work of social enterprises or social organizations. Since the outbreak of the virus, many large and small companies have set up new business lines and produce masks and sanitizers and other products in Hong Kong to meet the huge market demand. Small environmentally friendly enterprises, such as the one that you see on the right-hand side, such as the Green Beach, have sprung up. They sell second-hand fashion, natural, low-carbon products, reflecting that more and more people understand the importance of environmental protection. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So here I'd like to focus on what we could do to rebuild our society after the pandemic. Out of the crisis, we feel that people have become more united and more empathetic. And this is the seed of social innovation. To build a thriving social and entrepreneurial ecosystem, I would strongly suggest to use a movement building approach, which is a systematic approach to drive social innovation and engage more stakeholders. Over the last few years, Hong Kong has seen an increasing number of social startups. They usually focus on the design and delivery of specific product or service. The Social Enterprise Summit has been serving as a movement builder over the last decade to bring big and small players in the social innovation field together. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So we have been inspiring them and empowering them through our advocacy and marketing work. We have also developed the capabilities of local organizations with our community programs, which are joined by around 3,500 participants every year in different districts in Hong Kong. And we also organize the International Symposium, which has over 3,000 delegates in 2019. So we connect the dots and cross-sector players to drive greater social impacts. All our committee members are superintendents who have taken the initiative to start new actions on their own. And regionally, our strategy is to establish an intercity vision through which Asian cities may expand their networks, collaborate with each other, and share resources. In 2017, we have set up the Greater Bay Social Innovation Platform to build closer ties with 10 other cities in the southern part of China. In 2019, we have started to develop the Asia Young Social Entrepreneurs Exchange with 7 Asian countries. In a word, we are building up an ecosystem within Hong Kong and outside Hong Kong. So the Social Enterprise Summit is not merely an organizer. We have developed it over the years to become an alliance with over 100 partners and supporting organizations in Hong Kong and outside of Hong Kong. So through this forum, we hope to connect it to more Asian countries as well. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So apart from social enterprises, I'd like to make a remark about the models for the future. In Hong Kong, we have around 650 social enterprises, which is not very high in number, but then the social impact that we have on the society, especially on the business sector, on the small to medium enterprises are huge. In fact, the world needs SMEs to thrive because they account for more than half of most countries' GDP and are responsible for nearly 7 in 10 jobs, in each 10 jobs. At the Social Enterprise Summit, we have been nurturing corporate social partnership and promoting business with purpose. We work with enterprises to take business for good as a strategy for growth and sustainable development. So we advocate that enterprises should not only focus on short-term profits, but have to balance long-term interest and promote the sustainable development of the society and the environment with new products and services. And earlier this year, we have formed the B Lab to promote the B Corp movement in Hong Kong that aims at creating an inclusive and sustainable economy. Next, please. At the same time, we need the fuel to drive business and keep everything going. So the traditional practice of investing solely for financial gain and putting some of the profits toward social causes is no longer sufficient. In order to create change at scale, we need to harness the power of the capital markets. As a major international financial center, Hong Kong needs to be part of this transition towards social finance, i.e. to mobilize capital for positive impact and accelerate Asia into a social finance hub. So while we look for economic recovery, we also look at the UN's SGDP goals. Can we combine them together by expanding social finance and sustainability together? So here are a few examples which we could look into. For example, sustainability bonds, social impact bonds, and even ESG funds. However, there are not a single assessment framework to bring these measures into the mainstream investment decision-making process. So a lot more have to be done. In Hong Kong, we are having an outcome-based contract in the form of social impact bonds at the end of this year. So we will be interested in reporting further next year if we have the chance to report on the social finance field in Hong Kong. And then another thing that we would like to stress is cross-sector collaboration. Next slide, please. We need a concerted effort to reset our socio-economic systems and make some hard choices about priorities. So cross-sector collaboration between the civic, business, government, and education sectors are most important. And government should experiment with different ways to address the challenges by partnering with civic and business organizations and provide an environment for citizens to thrive. Next slide, please. So this is our 13th Social Enterprise Summit, which will be held online for the first time in November from the 19th to the 21st. We will address the co-creation of a new normal, which will gather the civic forces of all stakeholders, reshape partnerships, improve innovation capabilities, and create a new normal through dialogue and innovative solutions. So I would like to invite all of you to join us if you can. Next slide, please. So for more information, please click onto the registration link. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Rebecca Choi Young. It's very interesting how actually that you have developed very innovative and collaborative ecosystem in Hong Kong to deal with this crisis, but also to take this opportunity as an opportunity to innovate an ecosystem for the social economy. I think it's very inspiring. Thank you very much for your contribution. I would like to invite immediately our third speaker, Derek Walker, the CEO of the Wales Cooperative Centre. Derek Walker has been CEO of the Wales Cooperative Centre since 2011. During this time, he has strengthened its position as a leading development body for social enterprise and cooperative in the UK and helped to stimulate significant growth within the Wales social economy. The Wales Cooperative Centre has become a go-to organization for work to strengthen communities and tackle poverty. Derek has overseen a program of modernization, income diversification, and sustainable growth. He is also a member of a number of strategic committees, such as the Council for Economic Development and the Programme Monitoring Committee for EU funding in Wales. And he is also a board member of Cardin Housing Associations. Derek, floor is yours.
Thank you, Lawrence, and hello, everyone. It's really good to be here today. So I'm here in Wales, and Wales is a small part of the UK, just 3 million people, a relatively poor part of the UK. You will know, many of you, that the UK has been one of the parts of Europe that has been hardest hit by the health crisis, with more than 40,000 people having died already. And the economic hit is significant too, as it is all around the world. My organisation is specifically set up to support social enterprises, and our job will be to support social enterprises to survive the economic crisis, to adapt during the crisis, and hopefully to come out stronger at the end of the when this is all over. So there has been good support schemes for the social enterprise sector in Wales and across the UK. We have been fortunate to provide and adapt our services to provide good advice and business support to help social enterprises in Wales to adapt during this difficult time. There has been also generous financial support from the UK government in terms of helping people to pay wages, and from the Welsh government to support businesses to adapt with grant funding to be able to adapt their services. What that means is perhaps the impact is not entirely clear about how social enterprises will be after this crisis. So we know revenue is down. We know businesses are having to adapt, but we haven't seen significant numbers of social enterprises closing their doors, and we hope that won't be the case, and they will be able to adapt and survive. I really like Rebecca's presentation because I could see a lot of parallels with what is happening there in Hong Kong and what is happening here in Wales. Social enterprises are adapting out of solidarity. So all businesses are having to adapt, of course, in order to survive, and social enterprises are no different. But what we're seeing that is different amongst social enterprises is they're adapting in order to support their communities, to support their members during this crisis. So we've been so pleased to be able to share through our website and our social media channels lots of positive stories about, well, we've got a luxury social enterprise providing soap and beauty products called Good Wash, and they've been providing soap and washing products to people who work in the NHS and to the homeless during the crisis. We've seen a taxi cooperative provide discounted services, discounted fares for health workers to get to work because they can't take public transport always. We've seen lots of social enterprises adapt to support their communities, and you know, this is being seen and this is being noticed by the wider population and by the government here. We've also seen public bodies look to social enterprises to help them during this crisis. So, you know, they've seen these businesses as being rooted in their communities, interested in supporting Welsh people and the economy to survive this situation, and they've looked to them to provide to adapt their services and to make PPE, protective equipment for health workers and social care workers during this time. So there's been lots of positive stories during a very difficult situation. We've also, as in Hong Kong, looked to tech and digital. So many social enterprises were very good at using digital technology to support their businesses and to reach the people that they wanted to reach. But there are also many that weren't appropriately skilled in terms of digital, and we've been supporting them to improve their digital capability during this time. Later on in October, we will be holding a tech festival, a Tech for Good festival, to support our social enterprises, third sector organisations to understand how tech can be used for social good, as well as cutting costs and helping to increase surpluses. The next slide, please. So we're looking to the future and what comes next. The slogans that are used often in the UK, not just by us, are this idea of building back better, creating a new economy that is better than the economy that existed before the pandemic. We're also using the term build back social, build back an economy that is more socially minded than it was previously. So at the end of this, we want to see an economy where social enterprises are a much bigger part of the economy than they were previously. We have launched a strategic plan for the sector because we felt that we needed to have a document that set out where the sector wants to be, where social enterprises want to be, and we wanted that plan to be owned by social enterprises. It's been developed by social enterprises, and our vision is for social enterprises to be at the heart of a fairer, a more sustainable and a more prosperous Wales. We've had good support from government in putting together this plan, but it is owned by the sector. We have taken the view that we can't expect others to make this future. We need to take this action ourselves, and this is very much in the spirit of how social enterprises are. So this is a long-term vision and action plan for the social enterprise sector that we own and that we will make happen. You will see in this document a particular emphasis on a green recovery and the opportunities that that could bring. What we're already seeing is this document is helping to bring cohesion, direction and momentum. So social enterprises are pulling in the same direction, understanding what the priorities are, understanding what needs to change to make this vision a reality. And we're already starting to see a good number of new start social enterprises setting up, not necessarily because of our strategy, but we are seeing people adapt and look to the social enterprise business model as a way of coming out of this crisis, which is, you know, some positive from this negative situation. Next slide, please. Some of the challenges that we face here are as follows. We need to move to a different system. This is not just about individual initiatives, and there are lots of individual initiatives, but a different way of seeing the economy, seeing what the economy is for, how it's measured, how success is measured. So that is a big system change that we're looking to achieve. The politicians face a problem, so they will see the looming problem of unemployment. At the moment, unemployment in Wales hasn't increased dramatically, and it's still lower than in other parts of the UK, but the likelihood is that that will soon start to change. And the danger, I guess, is that we will look to old approaches and traditional approaches to create employment, because employment is needed, rather than looking to social enterprise options and new approaches. So that is one of the challenges that we have to face. There are lots of competing ideas, which is great, seeing lots of innovation, lots of people suggesting things that could be done differently. But we now need to make those ideas happen, rather than just talk about them, make those ideas a reality, and that will be a challenge, as always. We need to help our social enterprises to adapt. Many are adapting, but are they in the position to be able to take on the opportunities that might arise? So we are working closely with them to help them to be in the best possible position to take advantage of new investment, to adapt to the new economy, and to be able to look to the future. Public funding all across the world, but particularly in the UK, is going to be very limited. Huge amounts of money is obviously being spent on supporting the health services, and also to be crisis managing the economy. So that means in future years there'll be less public funding available. So increasingly, social enterprises will need to look to its own resources to survive, and to rely less on the public sector. Low level of digital skills is something I've mentioned, and we will, as I've said, be looking to support social enterprises to improve their digital skills. And we need people to stay connected, to be sharing ideas, to be supporting and collaborating more than ever during this challenging time. So I think it's a challenging few years that we face here in Wales, but on the positive side, the policy environment is supportive. There are organisations like mine that are here to help social enterprises to adapt and to grow. We have strategic plans in place, so we have a direction. We have a direction that we're all looking to pursue. So there's a good chance that the social enterprise sector will be a bigger part of the economy in future than it has been prior to this crisis. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. Thank you very much to the organisers for this event, and I look forward to being part of the panel later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Derek Worker. I think that his sharing on how social enterprise in Wales have shown their true colors by supporting people and communities in need during this time of pandemic, I think is a probably very inspiring and very common story to many social solidarity economic organizations and enterprise. But it's so rewarding and encouraging to hear from him that public bodies have looked to social enterprise sector for solutions. And I think it's a very important change that we could see actually what you have just shared. Certainly your vision, which is social enterprise at the heart of a fairer, more sustainable and more prosperous ways, we would like to see all over the world. So certainly let's work together, by staying connected and sharing our ideas to overcome our challenges, which is common and collective, to go beyond individual initiative to a completely different economic ecosystem, and especially that led by social solidarity economy actors and enterprise. Thank you very much once again. Let me now invite to our next speaker, Dr. Ali Erkan Ozgur, co-founder of Itia Haritasi. I hope that I'm doing a justice to the name, which means needs map in Turkey. Ali Erkan has recently served as the executive director of American Chamber of Commerce in Turkey. He started his civil society career at Youth for Habitat International Network as International Relations Coordinator in 2001. Then he worked as Local Governance Fund Manager at United Cities and Local Governments, Middle East and West Asia branch. Worked also as a project coordinator at Educational Volunteers Foundation of Turkey, as well as of Cooperative Social Responsibility Association of Turkey and Good Governance Program Manager at Turkey Economic and Social Studies Foundation. Ali Erkan Ozgur is co-founder of NISMAP and InnoGarat. And NISMAP is a user-friendly, non-commercial online platform in connecting people in need with those who can help them around the country. In addition, Ali Erkan Ozgur is partner of IDEMA and InnoGar Cooperative. Ali Erkan Ozgur, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Lawrence. Hello to everyone. Thanks for organizing the panel regarding post-COVID experiences of different countries and also solutions that cooperative social economy actors and social enterprises have. So I'll be sharing my presentation. So I'll be sharing about our experience in Turkey with a focus on how NISMAP, as you mentioned, is a cooperative in Turkey. It's a social cooperative. It's a digital platform cooperative that is working on a neighborhood map system. And we have been quite active through our disaster map and solidarity map all over Turkey. So I will share this experience so this can also, if possible, open to any partnerships and inspiring different opportunities. And thanks to previous speakers and presentation, it was really enriching to learn like Wales, South Korea experiences, Spain. Really, when I saw the cases, you know, we have similar also solutions, cases. So it's really a platform that we share together. So thanks for it. So when we are talking about a map, it's really a map. So as you can see, the red ones are the needs entered, and the green ones are the supports, donations that provided. It's usually material giving, in-kind giving, so we don't accept cashes as donation. So what we are doing is as a marketplace, matching on a neighborhood-based platform to match, you know, people and institutions, social enterprises in need with the ones who want to support it. So as I mentioned, it's a map-based data matching platform for in-kind transfer. So what brings us as a difference in the area that we are working on, social solidarity, is our transparency, and that we provide street level data that enable people to visualize it and take action. So in your neighborhood, you can see what kind of needs are around your street, and so you can volunteer for it and you can take care of it. So we established this platform 5 years ago as a, you know, as an idea, as a platform that NGOs use, that companies use, that individuals use, schools use, you know, diverse use. So what it does is you can learn and verify the needs on the basis of individuals and communities, and you can collect and list them on a map-based approach. And at the same time, you can facilitate the needs fulfilled by institutions, organizations, and private sector. So this started with an idea, but it was a challenge that people can use map as a system, enter data, you know, how ordinary people, how poor people, how rural people could do it. And it was surprising, the results we got. So it was used by people so, you know, participatory, so actively. So schools, teachers are using excessively, municipalities, private sector, local agencies, universities, individuals, civil society organizations. We have like more than 400 NGOs using our system, and even public institutions are using, and digital platforms, online groups are using our system. So the numbers in our system, you have to be member to our system. You can still explore on the map and need, but in order to get into action, you have to be member. So we have more than 100,000 members, and we have volunteer committees in 48 cities. And so far, we almost reached 2 million transactions in the system, which is worth $20 million worth goods that we enable to exchange through our system. And we are just a platform. I mean, we don't have depot, we don't have a huge staff, but we are kind of a platform that we need. And as our system explored, so we also started finding financial solutions, and especially right after COVID, there were lots of projects that came to us to do partnership. And for our system, we got recently a social impact investment from MasterCard to be also mobilizing, empowering local enterprises. So in our system, if you see something in, let's say in other city, I live in Istanbul and Izmir. So if you say we go to southern part of Turkey, Antalya, if there is a need there, so you can buy from a local shop owner. So the idea is also to empower neighborhoods, small shop owners, and also neighborhood ecosystem. And through this impact platform, we will be reaching out more than 300 SMEs, and we will be funding and providing needs to 7,200 families, and almost 30,000 beneficiaries. And right after the COVID, three kinds of needs appeared a lot in Turkey. One, the health equipment needs of hospitals, online education needs of schools, and especially art, music, entertainment industry that are bound to daily earnings. They collapse. So what we did is we organized a campaign and we made a festival that is online. We call it Fest Together. So it's a solidarity festival. It was the historical YouTube event of Turkey. We reached out 12.5 million views and 1.3 million unique watchers. And we raised almost 350,000 needs through this campaign. And it was only a 12 hours live session, but more than 60 artists attended. So it was a campaign that is a solidarity campaign that we tried to show the power of digital, how digital can be used for social needs, social problems, and how digital social solidarity can be created. And with these funding through the needs map for COVID pandemic current state, so we got entry of, especially for health equipments all over Turkey, more than 800,000 needs were received, and we were able to match 300,000 of it. So almost 50% which we were able to do. So we don't say, I mean, we have been able to, we have been successful to it, but showing as a data and transparently what can be done is very critical. And we saw too many support from health workers, and we became kind of the bridge. Another campaign to support the COVID post-COVID impact process was with two NGOs we organized, because owning computer was a problem. So all schools are closed. So all schools started. So Ministry of Education started online education, but not in every household, in every child we have computer, laptops, or tablets. So there are many children now out of school because they don't have access to digital equipment. So our campaign focused also on digital equipment for especially poor children and families. In some houses, there are like 5 children in the school age, and there's only one laptop. So it's not possible to follow all the classes, which causes dropout from schools, basic education. And before the COVID, we had a huge earthquake in Elazığ in the eastern Anatolia of Turkey, and it hit lots of lives in Turkey. But it was a moment that NeedsMap was also utilized for a disaster. So before COVID, we experienced using a map-based platform to be used for social aid, social solidarity, social sharing platform, and we are also enabled to be establishing a civil society disaster platform. So after the earthquake, buildings collapsed, so government and main disaster recovery systems focused on this recovery. But it was cold. It was a cold area. It was winter. So aid coordination, shelters, heating was a problem. Although all over Turkey, there were donations, there were like lots of equipment, lots of trucks are coming to the city. There was a problem of coordination. So our needs map system we established with Chamber of Commerce and with the governorship. So they utilize our system in the city in an offline session. So with depot, with 50 disaster, house centers. So we enable delivery of all the goods and products. So these are the numbers that we enable delivery of the basic needs during disaster and during a crisis time, which is, I think, huge number. And we did it all through volunteers and only through a digital platform that needs map. So in that sense, in the international scene, we are shown as good practice for contactless aid delivery, which we believe is the future for discussing social technology solutions. So in that sense, I think for global social economy ecosystem, it's also critical to create digital and social ecosystem that is half community-based, half technology-based. So we are trying to learn the technology side, but we are also matching it with the real community needs, because the local data, neighborhood-based data, is providing us what real local needs are. So in that sense, our technology and data is focusing on the local and neighborhood needs. So we are part of international platforms to also enable needs map to be established in different geographies of the world. So our platform is so easily applicable to any geography, any city, as a smart social city product. So needs map during the COVID time appeared as a agile and participatory, transparent, and community-based digital solution for the humanitarian, for the neighborhood needs. And we have site maps, I can say, as we have now developing disaster map, volunteers map, arts map, agriculture map, because agricultural product needs are rising. So our idea is to make needs map as a platform that hosts and shares its technology with lots of social enterprises all over Turkey to focus on better aid coordination, better crisis management, and better access to needs and solutions by humanity. And this is all my presentation as a solution to COVID, post-COVID process. We try to develop the product with lots of partners. So as I told, NeedsMap is a social enterprise, it's a non-profit social enterprise. So we don't earn money ourselves individually as founders, but we have 6 staff working. We have a technology based on the map data platform. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ali Erkan Ozgur. It's very interesting to hear actually that Turkish experience of this online social platform cooperative who are connecting people in need with the people, those who can help. I think it seems facing to this unprecedented crisis of COVID-19, this kind of online platform is growing in so many countries. It's becoming kind of new social innovative model of social solidarity economy organizations. It's very interesting, and especially I think you were able to even, without contact the person, without contacting and face-to-face meeting, aid delivery to people who are suffering in the refugee camps of Syria. And I think this is quite interesting actually to hear your experience and your effort. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Maybe just a last word. I mean, we are also working inter-country transactions also. So you will be able to, when you are in South Korea, you will be able to be taking care of a need in Accra, Ghana school. So we are also working on this international platform. So it's open to any ideas, partnerships, and it's an open innovation platform. So thanks for this discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We could, we could get in touch after this and to explore more possibility of collaborations. Thank you very much once again to Dr. Ali Erkan Orjuglu. Now I would like to invite our next speaker, Chris Dobrzhansky, board chair of the Community Forward Funds in Canada. He's a seasoned and enthusiastic observer of the North American financial scene and community impact. Chris Dobrzhansky retired from his position as the CEO of the Citizen Bank of Canada in November 2015, and also the chief economist at the Citizen Bank parents called Ben City Credit Union. I think he's probably more known for this as he has been contributing a lot for the financial inclusion through those institutions. Chris remains very active with impact investing at Community Forward Funds and also Canadian Community Forward, I think it's CCIF. And in 2009, he served as the interim senior vice president of Ben City New Social Finance Division, now is called as Community Investment, which aims to create a greater community impact through the credit unions, lending, and treasury activities. In addition to setting up the division and its strategy, Chris also ensured a greater fiduciary accountability in those activities. He has not only limited his activities in Canada. Chris' international work has taken him to Argentina, China, Mexico, Poland, Russia, and most recently to Korea. And in 2002, he completed co-study programs at the University of Bologna in Italy, and Chris holds investment management certification and MA in economics, as well as MBA in finance. And currently, he's building a very interesting exchange of experience between Korea and Canada. Chris Dobrzhansky, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you for this unique opportunity with GCEF. And thank you to the previous speakers. In my first slide, I want to actually build on the needs map. If I can have the first slide. So let's think of the needs map that traditionally had our community focused on attending offices or factories, but during the lockdown, we have to rethink our vision. And the purpose of this presentation is to take you through a focus of what if the real economy and social economy was community-centric versus factory or office-centric, and what if the reality of working from home for essential workers or essential workforce addressed affordable housing. So envision a new ecosystem that reduces the commuting to dense workplaces and increases the connectivity to locality with social and solidarity enterprise support. In a lockdown, we have to focus on community linked to itself, able to provide local service, such as food distribution or health services. We have to remain vibrant, household-centric, and at scale. My next slide, I want to show you a couple of examples of community centricity at scale. In our urban reality, affordable housing has to be at scale. If we rethink community centricity, the COVID need for livable space is even more in demand. We are not wanting to return to crowded tenements and slum landlords. We want to create living space that is caring, that creates room for learning. And a partnership with social and solidarity economy is very important, especially for households who share a cooperative view or the traditional commons view, that housing is a public good, a universal right. It also involves partnership with municipal authority that have land and zoning power that can then meet with the need for lower rents as incomes are lower in the new post-COVID environment, either because of direct unemployment or because of continued overworking at minimum wages. We have to make room for jobs that are adjacent and adjoining our affordable housing. And let us think of public goods, either health clinics, as was mapped with our previous speaker, or classroom space, whether that's online or in community. And especially these two examples I will now speak to. It's been an honor to work with We Stay, a cooperative housing society in Namyangju, northeast of South Korea. I guess for those not familiar, Namyangju would be a kind of a bedroom community with a lot of employment back in Seoul, but it is also a very historic city with a population that is involved in agriculture, a population that has specific needs around low income or immigrant labor. The size of the units, about 500 in these 5 to 6 towers, is very important to understand scale. The unique feature that I want to highlight, and you can look it up in the website, is that they built a community center that was twice the size of the zoning requirement. It added $3 million to the budget, but it has a community kitchen, a variety of programs. I've actually visited and stayed there. They have a workshop for wood, they have a media room for youth, they have daycare space. And the idea of having this community center twice the size of the requirement is so it could be a hub for the adjoining neighborhood in addition to the co-op members. This is a classic example of rethinking and creating connectivity at scale. The other feature is that they've created jobs within these different community activities, and the hours worked, they have their own currency. Specifically, if you worked 8 hours in the kitchen, you get 8 hours equivalent of We Stay currency, and you can apply that to your daycare supervision costs. The other example is British Columbia, Vancouver, where when finished, about also 420 units are going to be built. Most of the cooperatives in Canada and in particular in British Columbia were of the size of 40 units or less, but this is one that is at scale that creates capacity for community centricity. The unique feature here is a community land trust with the city of Vancouver, $10 for the land for 99 years. Why? Because it enables lower rent and offers units to other abled or people on welfare. So for example, in Fraserview, they will house people who have a $350 rent for the same unit that other people will be paying $1,600. Why? Because $350 is the maximum government rental subsidy that the other abled or people on welfare can. So again, two examples in two different parts of the world, but they are affordable housing centric with a cooperative philosophy, very much engaged in the social economy. If we turn to the next slide, I want to now say, how do we get there? Well, my experience has been that we need social finance, which is often patient capital, that can combine with then conventional lending. So my two funds at the introduction, Canadian Cooperative Investment Fund, CCIF, of 25 million, and Community Forward Fund, CFF, of about 25 million. Both provide patient equity, often for social purpose real estate, often for capacity in affordable housing. And it creates then the connectivity of a patient capital equity that can then go to a bank, to a government agency, to a credit union, and obtain conventional lending. These two little pools have a multiplier of 5 times their financial impact. And we know that $1 spent in the affordable housing area generates $4 more of social impact. So we blend the patient capital with grants and subsidies as well with conventional lending. And the post-COVID environment, the borrowers in these funds have been given permission to postpone their debt payments because the cash that they have, and we saw it in the previous slides, how drastic the drop in revenues has been for many in the social economy. The remaining cash, we believe, in our patient capital role is to support program and mission, not bank loans, not repaying. And I have to emphasize, we are in a unique environment with near zero interest rates. Debt should be used with forbearance, not foreclosure. Debt should be used to provide capacity and cash for mission and for program. The helping hands are not, it's not a handout. It's about flexibility. It's about creating capacity. And in the tug of war, on the right-hand side, you see the children with the rope. Well, who are they fighting against? I think they're leaning against the status quo that supported the stock market and left millions of people unemployed. I think it's a tug of war of government not being connected to community versus civic activity, participatory democracy from the social economy. So I join with those kids in leaning into the new paradigm to use patient capital to solidify the social economy. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris Dorzansky. I think it's very interesting actually to hear these two cases of a social housing project. And we, as everybody knows, that we've been always speaking about scaling up of those actions and offers of social economic organizations. In here, I think we have two very amazing experience of social housing cooperative who are offering really a very innovative and incredible solutions to the housing issues. So I'm sure that there will be a lot of questions coming from the public, but before that, I think I would like to express my sincere thanks to Chris for being with us, because I think we are very lucky that he is actually in Korea. That's how actually we were able to have him, despite of a huge time difference between Korea and Canada. Thanks a lot. Let me invite our last speaker, Youngmi Che, who is the representative of Korean Organization of Home-Based Workers Association. She's the director and chairman of Police Committee of Korean Federation of Workers Cooperatives, and she's also standing director and platform freelancer worker cooperative conference. She's a member and a non-regular committee member of Economy and Society Labor Committee, and she's a member also of steering committee of I think Seoul Cooperative National Federations, and she's also director and chairman of Police Committee of the Seoul Coop Council.
Well, I was having some technical confusion in Korea. Anyway, thank you very much for inviting me for this great opportunity to share our wisdom. So in the pandemic, the SSE community in Korea is experiencing a lot of experiments in collaboration. Today, I'm going to talk about domestic workers who are one of the most vulnerable groups among workers in Korea. So with domestic workers as my focus, I'm going to talk about platform workers and freelancers in Korea. First of all, now domestic workers are in the informal sector. So these are babysitters, housekeepers who were in their middle to old age. Uh, in they are about 200,000 to 400,000 in numbers. So they are not protected by the government system as they are non-standard type of workers. We are seeing an increase in the number of migrant household workers and platform workers. And the COVID-19 pandemic is adding to the existing difficulties for these workers. So these workers are experiencing reduced amount of work, and a new flow of work is almost stopped. The Korean government has provided various support measures. However, these support measures were only directed to workers in the formal sector and businesses in the formal sector. For example, there's the emergency employment support allowance. However, it is complicated with the requirements for proof of qualification in application process that is making domestic workers to domestic workers and their cooperatives to apply for it. And the cooperatives are not subject to small business support policies, such as shutdown benefits or shutdown leave allowances. So against all of the odds, domestic workers are working together to respond to the current crisis. First of all, we are providing accurate information about the COVID-19 for the members of the co-ops online, and we are promoting the reliability and safety of the services we provide for customers. So domestic workers have to visit homes to provide services. And for domestic workers, it was really important for us to have offline gatherings and meetings for trainings and conversation. But in the pandemic, we had to adopt some online formats for such gatherings. We thought there will be a lot of difficulties because most of the domestic workers are in mid to old ages, but these online gatherings are taking place. There is an organization called the Platform Workers and Freelancers Council. In this council, we have established policy recommendations for the government and shared it with the government and the members of the National Assembly. But basically, we have nothing more. What we can do is nothing more than just enduring the current crisis, because the domestic workers have to visit homes, and it'll be very difficult for us to remove all the uncertainties and concerns about safety in the pandemic. So how would the SSA ecosystem evolve after the pandemic? Many people are talking about the need to adapt to the new normal. It should happen in all areas of our life: labor, environment, human rights, and so on. All people and organizations have to create new standards of life and work from their own perspectives. Now the Korean government has to promote public care services and job creation through it, and it has to accelerate its planned reforms on employment insurance and strengthening of social protection system. And although not included in these slides, the SSE community is working together to also respond to the crisis. The SSE organizations are trying hard to sustain employment and create funds. Recently, worker cooperatives are trying to establish mutual aid fund in an attempt to help each other in the difficult times. And the good news is that the more conventional charity organizations are now taking interest in freelancers and platform workers and other workers in the informal sector. And like I said before, freelancers and platform workers have created their communities based on offline gatherings. However, they have to adapt to the new normal by utilizing digital technologies to promote these communities. And there are some challenges regarding that. How can we enhance access to the digital infrastructure among the platform workers when these workers are typically low paid, older, and not active users of digital devices? So we are working hard to overcome these challenges now. So we are seeing new developments like the government's attempt to expand and reform the employment insurance and strengthen social protection system, and the SSE community's own initiatives to establish mutual aid funds and organizations. And now I believe that it is urgent for the government to conduct a survey on the worker cooperatives, especially about the platform workers and freelancers. The survey should provide the basis for the government support measures. And I also believe that we have to institutionalize worker cooperatives that include various forms of labor, including platform work. And second, we need to work together to enhance access to digital technology and sustainability. And the government should also provide support for that. For example, we need the provision of digital devices in training for the vulnerable groups of the society. And we also need a platform shared among cooperatives and used by the vulnerable people in the local communities in a sustainable manner. In this regard, I believe the example of Turkey provides us a lot of insight. Thank you very much for listening.
Very much, Youngmi Che. It's very interesting actually to hear
대표님, 감사합니다.
how actually that these home-based workers who are generally considered as informal sectors or non-organized sectors are organized, and you are really improving their services as well as responding to their growing needs, especially in this time of COVID pandemic. I think it's a very interesting case. Well, I think, you know, that we had a very rich panel of 6 different experience and 6 different sectors as well as country experience. And although we do have very little time, almost I think we don't have time left, but we have received quite a lot of questions even prior to this webinar through already written questions submitted by many participants, as well as some questions which came through this webinar. So if you would stay a little bit more time with us, and I would like at least to tell some of those questions which I think some of the speakers can address. We have received a question from Dominique Lissaf from CD in France: how to keep providing good accompaniment services despite distance. I think certainly Dr. Carlos or Mrs. Rebecca or Derek or Ali can reply. And another question is from Takeshi Tadokoro: what do you think is the positive effect of COVID-19? And in the same, I think there is another question from Dr. Abby Primawati from Indonesia: will the ecosystem get better after COVID-19 has passed? I think that Anita's from Ghana's question has just been responded, I guess, from Youngmi Che's presentation. How does the Domestic Workers Association work? But I think there is Maria Fustik from Canada who asked question: do you believe that the future of SSE relies on more or less collaboration with government and the private sector? And then Chen Bang Seng from YMCA EPE, he has raised question: would you like to hear about alternative tourism within the SSE ecosystem in the post-COVID-19 era? I'm afraid that I think we don't have a speaker who is working in this sector, so we may not be able to respond. And Dr. Shivam Sarma from India, I think she has raised question that how to develop frugal financial mechanisms for social inclusion of tribal community, gender-based vulnerable communities living underprivileged life in India, such that mainstreaming them for COVID and post-COVID financial resilience with local governance. I'm not sure whether Chris is able to respond to this question. So let's go for the first round of those questions. Who will take first question? How to keep providing good accompaniment services despite distance?
Well, if you want,
Okay.
I can talk. I'm Carlos Arco. We have to do it in the right way, because we put all the devices and the telemedicine in my case for our patients, and we put video consultants and we put telephone consultants. We have made a great use of it, and I think there are something that we have to improve, because there are many people who are digitally, but there are other people who aren't digitally. And also in our case, in our sector, some of the things we can do is the first consultation, it will be we have to be physical because we have to explore the patient, but we have to improve in how to get in contact with this, with wearables and other things like that. But the main thing in order to the other question is what we can say good about the pandemic. In the health sector, I can say that many changes that has been there for a lot of time without improving, they have improved in a real time in months. When we talk about telemedicine, we talk about wearables, we talk about many things that we have been talking in our sector for many years. And I think that COVID-19 pandemic was the catalyzer for this disruption and has made that change were exponential in many ways, like being in telemedicine and other things like that.
Thank you very much. I don't know whether there is a speaker who can respond to the question, what do you think is the positive effect of COVID-19, or will the ecosystem get better after COVID-19 has passed? Any speaker? Maybe Rebecca?
Thank you, Lawrence. In fact, I'd like to make some comment on the first question.
Okay.
Apart from doing everything online, in fact, in Hong Kong, we're encouraging new experiments. For example, we're experimenting with sustainable local tourism, because instead of traveling overseas, a lot of people are homebound, but then we could travel around in Hong Kong. So a number of social enterprises and social groups are beginning to organize local tours to areas that, well, in fact, Hong Kong has a lot of lovely places, but we tend to go outside to Korea, to Japan for overseas trips. But now people are exploring the potential of Hong Kong itself as a tourism center for Hong Kong people. And then we are encouraging people to be responsible when they travel to the villages, to the mountains. And also there are a number of initiatives to train up local tour guides, housewives, unemployed people, and also people who have retired, because they know the community very well. So instead of having the normal tours that we have, having shopping and big dinners and meals, we would invite them to visit the local districts so that they really understand how people Hong Kong live and what is our historical trade, etc. And I think that also I've seen a question on the social finance.
Hong Kong for social financing. Thank you. Yeah.
Yes, this is a very interesting question. In fact, we have been doing a lot to encourage financial innovation in Hong Kong, because we feel that Hong Kong does not live up to its name as an international financial hub, because in the past, people are only looking at financial returns. There are a number of groups in Hong Kong that are gathering together to provide investments for social enterprises, and also to provide investments for new initiatives, such as the social impact bond that I've just mentioned. In fact, the government is supporting this, and we are going to have the first social impact bond in Hong Kong at the end of the year. So I think all these experiments are very important for us to move forward. And according to several surveys conducted by financial institutions earlier this year, 90% of the respondents, who are mainly financiers, 90% of them feel that Hong Kong people, Hong Kong financial investors could do much more to fill in the gap. But then, as I said, there is no one standard of impact investing. Even for the ESG fund, which is rather popular all over the world, there's no one assessment method, which makes it difficult for fund managers and impact investors to do their decision-making process. So this is something we have to work on. And secondly, the idea of sharing economy is getting popular here. So instead of owning things, people, they are beginning to vote with their money. What kind of society would I like to see? So people are investing in small amounts in social initiatives. But then I think scaling up is very important, because big investors or big impact investors, they will look for scaled up social enterprises. And this is something that we need to overcome, because at present, most of our social enterprises are still at a very small size. So scaling up is another issue that we have to face. But as I said, social enterprises, they have set a good example of how a business model could benefit the community. So they have a lot of influence on the business sector, because the business sector, instead of just keeping a profit, they could see how they could solve social problems with their business strategy as well. And if they do that, I'm sure they will attract a lot of impact investors. So in summary, we still have a long way to go as far as social finance is concerned, but then there are very good experiments going on in Hong Kong.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. May I probably invite Derek to respond to the question that do you believe that the future of SSE relies on more or less collaboration with the government and the private sector? As well as there is also one question coming from Samuel saying that many speakers have mentioned the need for change, but I missed any coherent reference to the elephant in the room, the power. Many narratives refer to change in small elements of the ecosystem, but how are we going to change when there are many elements against building back better? Derek, can you?
Yes, thank you, Lawrence. I mean, on the question of collaboration, I mean, I think collaboration and cooperation is in the DNA of social enterprise and the social economy. So we have always collaborated with each other and with other sectors, and that needs to continue to happen. I think one of the things that we are seeing more of is much better collaboration between social enterprises themselves, but also governments and private sector organizations here recognizing that they need social enterprises based in Wales to deliver for them. So, for example, we've seen problems with the supply of personal protective equipment because we relied on that to come from overseas, which meant delays and health workers not having sufficient equipment. So they're now wanting to collaborate with the social enterprise sector and cooperative sector to ensure that there are supply chains within Wales closer to the purchasers, so that that is available when needed. So we need greater collaboration to look beyond our own organizations and to reach out to the wider world to take our place, I think, as part of the future of the economy and society. I also wanted to just say quickly something about the ecosystem. I think, you know, like others have said, people's priorities have changed and people want different things. They understand that good quality public services, tackling environmental challenges, good, strong communities, secure incomes. These are all really important things for people, and that's what's mattered during the pandemic. So a refocus on policy priorities that look at those things rather than perhaps traditional profit-making GDP measures will hopefully create a better environment for the social enterprise sector. And then this question of power, I think that is a tough question and shouldn't be avoided. You know, power resides with you know, the politicians, big business, money, and that remains the case. I think we take control of that power by, you know, first of all taking charge of our own destiny, not asking others' permission, but, you know, making our own future. But I also think it's also about changing the systems and processes so that what's important, what matters, gets measured, and they're more likely to be the things that social enterprises are involved in doing than perhaps other parts of the economy. So, you know, it's about a different narrative, it's about different measures, it's about different priorities, and then hopefully the rest will follow. And that means, you know, making our case and demonstrating the value of the sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Derek. May I invite Dr. Ali to respond to the question from Takeshi? What do you think is the positive effect of COVID-19? I think your need mapping exercise could probably have something to share. And also at the same time, the question from Dr. Abby from Indonesia, will the ecosystem get better after COVID-19 has passed? Would you like to respond?
Yeah. Thank you, Lawrence. I mean, of course, I mean, all the global communities, I mean, countries have difficulties. I mean, it was also maybe not positive, but it was sharing. I mean, sharing the common pain of humanity, I believe, was critical. So, I mean, when seeing people are dying in different countries, so I think this side was to sharing the pains was, I think, important because I believe in that side, I mean, maybe I can say something critical. So this virus, this COVID is democratic, so it doesn't listen any country, it doesn't have any prejudice. It touches any people, it kills any people. So there is no country, there is no color, there is no ethnicity. This virus killed all of us. So I think this has a message or symbol that we as people, if we can have united, if we can have solutions, leaving our prejudice, leaving our, what kind of nationality, what kind of locality we are sharing, we have a common problem to survive together. So in terms of that, I mean, the solutions, the needs, so we started collaborating. What is also, I mean, positive side after this COVID thing, the things like needs map, the solutions in Canada, in Spain, in South Korea, in different parts of the world, and for social enterprises, we are the people, we are the enterprises who are thinking of social problems and with the solution side. So we had hard access to government funding. We had hard access to convincing private sector or different funding mechanisms. So what we see after COVID-19, especially coming from the experience for needs map, we had huge demand. So to see that they wanted to mainstream needs map product in the country, municipalities, companies, national organizations, national government agencies, which shows that if we as social enterprises develop solutions, technologies, with focus on the problems, disasters, health, disabilities, I think now it's the era that we can access the funding, we can convince the necessity of these solutions, because we were kind of in the externalities but now the things we have been advocating maybe for years, this social economy ecosystem was advocating for years on the problem. So I think the future will have more availability, that people, organizations will listen us more. And one last word, maybe what kind of things will be the solution. I believe the urban and localities will increase. I mean, huge metropolitans, huge cities, huge countries, impact of them will be limited, I think. So I think we will see the rise of urban areas with better access to rural areas. So balanced rural and urban localities will increase and will empower, I believe. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ali. May I ask Chris, I don't know whether you are able to respond to Dr. Shibam Sharma from India's response, how to develop frugal financial mechanisms for social inclusion of tribal communities and gender-based vulnerable communities living underprivileged life in India.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, there is an international organization called GABV, Global Association of Banking on Values. And in Bangladesh, the bank is BRAC, B-R-A-C. And in India, there is a small finance bank called ISAF, I may mispronounce this, in the province of Thrissur, Maili Padam. And the reason I mention these is like the Global Social Economic Forum. Here you have values-based bankers who are providing international resource to the communities on the margins. And so I would recommend being in touch with them. And of course, many of us have benefited from international agencies for the seed capital, whether they're the World Council of Credit Unions or the United Nations. As has been said earlier, COVID has shown us that we need a healthy community in order to have a healthy economy. And in my experience, one of the dimensions of that health is financial well-being. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris. I think in order to do some justice, because there have been 2 questions coming from Korean audience. I think Unju Tak, she's working for the Life Magic Care cooperative. She asked, what are the weaknesses and strengths of social solidarity economy organizations in post-COVID-19 era? And then second question is, if you would like to say 3 keywords of this forum, what would be? This is question from Jiyoung Park, a student from university. So I would like to invite all the speakers, just respond to this question. What are the weaknesses and strengths of the social solidarity economy in post-COVID-19? If you could say in 3 key words. Who will start first? Let's conclude with this. 3 key words in terms of weakness and strength of the social solidarity economy in post-COVID. Okay, Rebecca, go ahead.
I think we have both weakness and strength. Financial well-being is very important so that we can go through the economic crunch. And also social enterprises have to survive so that we could carry out our social missions. And secondly, I think that it related to the question on power, a kind of new power is being emerged from many societies. And this new power are by empowering individuals, social innovators coming from different sectors of the society. And if we could empower them, they could lead to a lot of changes. And then thirdly, collaboration between different sectors. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. Maybe Dr. Carlos?
Yes, of course. I think one of the weakest has been not only about the healthcare system. I think when you talk about a question about how the pandemic could affect the ecosystem, I think this year could make us rethink our lives, because sustainability is fast becoming a new reality. I think when things go wrong, we hope that the things go better, but often they do it. But this year will not be only a bad year. It will be a reflection of how the things are becoming bad, and we need a change. And I think we have to. Sustainability has become the new reality. And no one can think that things like this year has happened months ago. And nowadays we have to think about the next years and how to be stronger. And I think that in my case, the cooperative system and the social systems all around the world are more resilient than any other kind of enterprises, because we don't have to share nothing with with our owners. We have to reinvest all the money we get, and we are very much linked to the reality of society. And as say Ariel Warco, the ICA president, we are really the social accountability walking, because we are in the floor with all the people of our different sectors.
Thank you very much. Maybe Derek, would you say a few concluding messages?
Similar to the others, I guess one of the words would be relevant. We're seeing our organizations and our social enterprises do what's needed for the people that they work for. So they're remaining relevant and needed and necessary. And a second word would be innovation. Seeing lots of innovation, lots of adaptation, lots of people doing different things. In a crisis, we perhaps take more risks because we have to, and that has resulted in some failures, but also in lots of success. And I guess what would my third word be? I mean, demand, maybe big demand for people's support and services. I guess similar to relevant, but more demand than ever for their services, which is a challenge for organizations to cope with.
Thank you, Derek. Dr. Ali, what are your 3 keywords?
Yeah, my first word is priorities. I mean, so with the post-COVID era, with social economy, priorities are changing. So this is the reality. The second word, I agree also, ecosystem. I mean, so changing ecosystem, enlarging ecosystem and we have to build new ecosystem, and with related to this decentralization, I mean, either digitally, either geographically, either conceptually. So decentralization, decentralizing all the concepts, all the solidarity mechanisms, I think will be our new concept for the future.
Thank you very much. Chris?
Yes, the pandemic happens once in a lifetime, but often in history. And so I think what we're seeing through a collaboration like today is the return to human dignity, of universal values. Everyone's talking about jobs with dignity, livable space with dignity. And so let us keep working hard, using the term helping hands to challenge the status quo. Some jobs won't come back. Some jobs will be volunteer. Some housing will have to be subsidized. So the mechanisms, I think, will be lessons in history. We should talk about that some more.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Chris. 신다면,
So if you have 3 keywords, what would they be? 정미최, what would they be?
I'm sorry for the glitches today. So the 3 keywords for me would be challenge. As we all know, this is a paradigm shift, a urgent paradigm shift in all areas of life. This is a urgent challenge for all of us. In the financial crisis of 2008, we had a lot of challenges, but now we are facing even larger challenges today. And how can we meet the challenges? First of all, I think collaboration. Now, the threat or danger is not limited to a particular group. So we need to think about how to promote collaboration of all the different groups or across sectors like welfare and care, welfare and the environment, and so on. And third keyword is self-help. I think any response to the challenges should be based on our own capacity. So the SSE community should be building our own capacity to meet the challenges. Thank you very much.
네, 아주 감사합니다. 한 분이 sorry that there's one person who asked us, are there opportunity to take this webinar to a higher level after this very resourceful presentation? I would like to further interact with the Canadian project and the one on Korea's domestic workers cooperative. But he has not, we haven't found, I was trying to identify who the person, but his name is number 2. So please leave your contact email address. So we will put you in contact with Chris as well as Ms. Che. I think probably you could interact further with them. Certainly, I think we would like to take this webinar to a higher level so we could deepen this very important question: what should be the evolving new ecosystem of social solidarity economy in the post-COVID-19 era? And I think that today probably we didn't have enough time to deepen more about those questions. But I would like to invite you all to join our next global virtual forum, which is going to be held with the theme on great challenges, greater solidarity, power of community and social solidarity economy as a part for transformation from 19th to 23rd of October. And actually we are going to have more than 33 different sections, and every day with one plenary who is dealing with a very important key question for the evolving ecosystem of social solidarity economy. So I would like to invite you all to be part of this great virtual forum where we could share our insight and our inspirations and story of innovations. And also I would like to invite you all to participate in our global social solidarity economy video or open call. If you have including the publics who didn't had the chance to speak today, if you have any story, inspiring story and experience to share with us and with all the people who around the world, you could just record a video message or video story and put in our, I mean, you can participate in our call, and you could this could be shared with as many as people and social solidarity economy organizations in the world. So please sign up to this call and share your testimony and your inspirational story with the world today. I would like to thank to all our speakers as well as to all participants for this very interesting and informative panel. And thanks a lot. I think time is always very limited, but I think it was very inspirational and very positive messages that we have got through different stories and experience shared by our speakers. So thanks a lot once again, and hope to see you soon again. Thank you. Bye.